The presenting sponsor for OnEducation is Schoology. Schoology is not only the best learning management system, it's also a community of lifelong learners. There's so many things to love about Schoology, but my favorite is the company's passion to connect with their teachers and students to deliver the best product possible. If you want to learn more about Schoology and how they can help you advance what's possible, visit Schoology.com.
When we come back, we're going to talk about our good friend Betsy DeVos. Welcome to OnEducation. I'm Mike Washburn.
And I'm Glen Irvin. Friends, we have an awesome pod for you today. We will discuss Betsy DeVos and the Koch brothers' evil plan for education, the rise of esports at high schools and universities, and we will speak with the co-founder of Alludo about why your professional development currently sucks.
You've said evil plan twice now, and every time I think of like Dr. Evil and his hands together and tapping his fingers together.
The evil plan.
Putting his pinky up to his mouth.
It's like, Yes, exactly.
That's funny. First week back, how'd your week go?
It went amazing. We had Labor Day off. Do you guys have that too?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yes, our first day was Tuesday.
Just making sure. I didn't know if it was a U.S. thing. So we started on Tuesday with students, and it was an amazing start again to the school year. I have a completely different position, so it was the first time I've ever started in a new job, not as a Spanish teacher. So that was very interesting, and I thought high energy and a lot of things that needed to get done right at the beginning of the year to get us started with our one-to-one at the high school. But it went awesome. Fantastic colleagues and coworkers, paraprofessionals. Love my coworkers.
Nice. Awesome.
And you? It's second week now?
No. Well, I've been back for 3 weeks,
Yes.
but we had no students for the first two.
Okay.
It was fine. It was good. It was about what I expected. We did have. I think I shared the video with you on iMessage of our pep rally video.
Yes.
Our student body is divided into houses, and you get house points for behavior and whatever. I think that's
like
fairly
Harry
normal.
Potter.
Sorry.
Like Harry Potter?
Kind of like Harry Potter.
Okay.
And our house that I'm in is called Sphinx.
Okay.
So that's why we did we did a carpool karaoke to S Club 7's classic hit song S Club Party.
Okay.
It was pretty fun. I'm trying to get everyone's permission to let me put it up on YouTube. Well, it's on YouTube now, but it's in a secret link.
Yes.
But I'm kind of itching to share it out, so it's pretty rad.
Really,
I thought
really
it was
funny.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, it's totally funny. A really good way to get kids to get fired up about the school year.
Yeah, they loved it. So that was fun. And the classes all kind of went the way they normally go, so everything was good.
Good.
Yeah. We have some small things to talk about, I guess. I guess the first one I wanted to mention, or we should mention, is this. We've kind of hinted that we were starting this before, this kind of gaming community.
Yeah.
And it's kind of went through a couple kind of iterations and back and forths. But you've may notice that I've been tweeting, and Glen's been retweeting and tweeting about something called Tribe Gaming and the Tribecast. So you guys should totally follow at Tribe Gaming 1, I think is the Twitter account. Just take a look the next time you're on Twitter at something I've tweeted. I think it's on my pinned tweet at the moment. But follow that Twitter account, and if you're into watching kind of gameplay on Twitch and stuff like that, watch some of us. It's kind of fun. We've played some Diablo. We played Civilization 5 last night.
Yes.
And it's fun just kind of having a good time with other educators. But we always inevitably slip into serious education discussions. I don't know how you can not slip into a serious education discussion when you're playing Civilization 5 with Paul Davarzi and Steve Isaacs.
Yes.
It just kind of happens. It's, so it did. And it was great. And it was fun having that conversation. So, we would love this to be a thing. So hoping that people will follow us and
people can
engage
join
in the
in
conversations
too, right?
and stuff like that. Yeah, and even play with us. Yeah,
if you're
totally.
interested in playing, or actually a lot of times I think it'd be interesting for people like, for example, Civilization. They might hear their kids talk about it, but it'd be interesting for them to join in a conversation like you guys were having last night, that these educators are playing this game while having a conversation about how either this game or other games can be relevant and powerful in the educational setting.
Totally.
Yes. So what else are we doing?
We're going to FETC.
Yeah. Florida.
Or Orlando. I've never been to Florida.
It's beautiful. Actually. I've only been there once, and it was for FETC last year. And it was amazing.
So we're going to FETC. We're really excited. We're going to do probably not as many podcasts as we did for ISTE because that almost killed us. But I think we'll probably try to do at least 2.
Oh yeah.
Maybe while we're there, at least 2. Neither of us are speaking. You're not speaking at FETC, right?
Nope, I didn't put it in an application. I should have.
So neither of us are speaking. So we're just going to be there kind of hanging out, having fun, talking to a lot of people. So hopefully if you're going to FETC, we'll see you there. It's going to be great. Maybe we can do a meetup if anyone wants to do that. Kind of send us add us on Twitter.
Yes.
And let us know if you want to hang out somewhere. We'll find some microbrewery, craft brewery thing to go to, or some restaurant, and we'll go and chill. Because that would be Disney World. We could have a party at Disney World. An OnEducation meetup at Disney World would be kind of amazing.
Live from Disney World.
Right.
That's awesome.
What's going on Twitter?
Well, just recently, I mean, there's all kinds of things all the time, but recently I keep seeing this discussion that's happening on whether Google Classroom is a viable option versus Schoology. And we've had this conversation before. And if you're an educator that currently uses Google Classroom, I just wanted to put it out there that there's this other option called Schoology, and it's 1,000,000 times better. Because, and I mean, really the reason why I'm saying that is because the Schoology platform has Google Drive and Docs and all those things integrated within the system, and it just gives you that much more of a robust learning management system. I think what did you call Google Classroom? LMS
Lite?
Lite, yes. So it's like a light version of LMS. A lot of people had all kinds of different comments about both of them, and disadvantages specifically to Google Classroom. And one of the things that I was thinking about, Mike, is how easily Schoology can be shared with your parents to make your classroom and the content you're teaching, and even the messages that you're sending out to your class, very transparent.
Totally.
And I think that's the huge difference right there, is that when you're opening it up to your parents and they can view in to what their students are doing, to what their kids are doing, and then also kind of what's happening within your class, I think that's a great thing as a teacher. But it's also great for the parents, so they really can help their kids to be successful. And that's just what was my biggest thought. My biggest takeaway was that nobody had mentioned that when we were talking about that on Twitter, but I was like, well, what about parents? We want to make sure that they're included in this formula whenever you're using anything at school, as far as a learning management system. You want to make sure that they have the ability to be a part of the process.
There's no comparison when you look at, if you were to build for example, my digital citizenship unit that I'm just about to start.
Yeah.
If you were to visualize that in Google Classroom,
how would
there's
that look?
no way that you would be able to see just by looking at it kind of how it flows and the content and where things are and how everything works. But in Schoology, because of the way you can lay out a folder or a class or a unit or whatever, I mean, you can take a look at my digital citizenship unit, and at a glance, you can see exactly which weeks, which days I'm going to be doing what,
yes,
and where everything flows to from like a top-down perspective. There's really no comparison. So, and I try to remind as many people as I possibly can that Schoology has a free version.
Yeah, totally.
And it has almost all of the same features that the enterprise version has.
I used the free version for 2 years before my school bought into the enterprise version, and it's honestly, like you just said, it's the same thing, except that at a district level, the enterprise version, especially like a district that I'm working at, gives you a lot of advantages to be able to go ahead and populate courses, to make sure you kind of have like you just said, a macro level ability to be able to go ahead and control information or put people in specific things, even do professional development, at a district level. So it kind of gives you like an ability to be able to brand it to your specific district. So that is nice, all of those things. But if you're just wanting to just do a comparison, just log in, go to Schoology.com, just create an account, a free one, and just check it out and watch some of our videos or how to get started. And I think you'll see that it's vastly superior.
What iPhone do you have?
So that's a good story. I had the iPhone 6, I want to say. iPhone 6S, but I'm not very smart, and I bought one of these Mophie cases. You know where the story's headed. I think you knew this already, maybe. But I had one of these Mophie cases, and it has a battery pack in it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always left the Mophie pack on green to keep my phone 100% charged.
Oh, and it like drained your battery.
If anybody's
killed your battery
out there,
over a year or so.
Don't do that.
No.
It actually expanded my battery, right? And then it pushes your screen up and out,
Sweet. Good job.
So now I have a little generic, the SE version. You know what I mean? I went and bought one real quick on Amazon. I think they're like $170 or something like that. And so then I'm carrying a little mini phone right now, but it's fine. I'm happy with it. Yeah. What about you?
I have an iPhone 7, so
okay.
I think I'm just about ready
for the upgrade.
Yeah. So Wednesday's the Apple event, and we're gonna be. I watch them with my class. I've been doing it for a few years now.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned this before, where I'll just kind of put it on the screen, and they'll be kind of doing their work, doing whatever they're doing, and I'll have it on as kind of background, and the kids will, look up. The older kids in particular, they'll be doing whatever they're doing, and they'll just look up and go, "Huh, that's cool," and then they'll go back to work, kind of thing. But having it on in the background is kind of fun for them. They like to see what's new, and I like showing them what's new. So. But I think that my wife and I are both in the market for new phones, and I think I'm finally going to get a Plus, whatever the bigger version. Yeah. I think I want a big phone next time. So, so I'm excited. So that's that.
Yeah, we'll make sure we report on it. Huh?
Yeah. No, totally. We'll talk about it next week. We'll talk about what Apple's got up their sleeves. I think there's going to be new phones and probably new watches. And possibly even new devices, other devices, maybe a new iPad. So we'll see. When we come back, we're going to talk about our good friend Betsy DeVos.
OnEducation is brought to you by Teacher Gaming. Teacher Gaming Desk is an all-in-one toolkit for any teacher looking to use more games in their classroom. And Teacher Gaming just launched a dedicated Chromebook subscription bundle with 20 awesome games. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's only $99 per class per year. So you got your whole class, you got 20 different games that can be played on a Chromebook. How great is that? If you want to learn more about Teacher Gaming, simply go to teachergaming.com to get started.
All right, welcome back to the pod. On Friday, The Guardian published a pretty crazy, eye-opening piece about how our best friend, the U.S. Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, and the Koch brothers, through their, whatever you want to call them, PACs, are using Arizona as their kind of test bed to stake their claim on vouchers. There's so many things in here. I just kept pulling quotes nonstop. but here's one for you, Glenn.
Okay.
Arizona's lawmakers have ignored the public and will instead heed the wishes of billionaires seeking to build up private schools at the expense of public schools. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I guess maybe you would probably have more. More knowledge about this than I do, but I am curious. I guess do we know for sure that when money goes into vouchers that it leaves public school systems? Do we know that for sure?
Well, basically, what it does, yeah, the answer is yes. We do know that for sure, because what you're doing is the pie doesn't grow any bigger. If you want to think about it, whatever the amount of money that we're funding schools with is now going to be divided into more pieces in order to bring in the private schools. So you're still dealing with the exact same amount of money, but now you're distributing it even further. And so you're distributing it with the idea that it's school choice. Like now it's opening it up, and now students have the ability to be able to join these private schools, except that's a false narrative. Because if you look at the price of these private schools, that voucher will nowhere near get you the amount needed for that tuition. So that's where this is like there's a disconnect. Even though it may sound like something positive, it's actually a very negative thing for anybody that chooses to go then to a public school, which will have less money now. And so that's the answer to your question is yes. The public schools will suffer.
So, I mean, when we're talking like $7,613, that is the amount of money Arizona spends basically per student, and that is going down. It's going down like crazy. 24%. It's been reduced since 2008 to 2015. And that's the third lowest per student funding in the United States.
That's embarrassing.
When you say that pie, isn't getting any bigger, and when you then divert money from that pie to, can Arizona really afford to be pulling more funding and diverting it into for-profit private schools at this point?
Yeah, they can't, but they will do it on behalf of the people that it benefits. So if you imagine you're already sending your kid to a private school, well, it'd be great to have another $7,000, which it'll be less than that, but to be able to put towards that tuition, if that makes any sense. But that doesn't mean that any other student that was not attending that place is now going to be able to attend that private school. So it really doesn't do anything except benefit those, again, which we tend to do with these Koch brothers and Betsy DeVos and anybody else related to this administration. You're benefiting already the people who have all the advantages, which is all of these people that are very wealthy.
I hate the cognitive dissonance of this. I hate that. The reality is that most of this private school voucher money is going to religious schools, Christian schools in particular, that don't want to teach, the public school curriculum. They want to teach things like
creationism,
creation,
yeah,
right, and that kind of stuff, and I just find it amazing, because if we were diverting money from the government to a Muslim school, for example,
yes,
people would lose their frigging minds.
Oh, yeah.
Like heads would fly clear off their bodies. People would be so angry. Am I right? Right? Yeah. It would just be insane. They would be like, are they teaching these kids Sharia law?
Yeah, well, it's the thing is that's the reason why we have a separation between church and state. This is kind of a backwards way of getting around that. You know what I mean? It's kind of a back door. It doesn't state that in the policy, but that's what ends up happening there, is now you have a true mixture of state monies being diverted into private schools, specifically ones that, in this case, could be religious.
Overwhelmingly they are.
Yes,
and let's be honest, the other ones are private schools that, for example, all of these are almost always well, they're profit centers, right? They're places that are making money.
Yes.
And so now you have a financial equation in education, and there are just some things that shouldn't be in private hands.
Yes.
And education is one of them. So the law that this is all falling under is this Proposition 305.
Okay.
Or at least that's the law being put on the
Voted
ballot
on?
to repeal. Okay. So to repeal the law for vouchers in Arizona, it's Proposition 305. It's on the ballot in November. And I guess we're hoping when we talk about stuff like this is that if you're in Arizona or whatever, that you get involved in this discussion and be aware of what's going on. These down ballot races, these down ballot elections are important, and these down ballot propositions are important. And the Jeff Flake replacement race, might be the premier event in Arizona in terms of the November elections, but these initiatives in these lower level elections underneath Senate and governor and stuff like that are how the GOP has slowly chipped away at the U.S. education system by, appointing or electing people to school board positions and all of this other nonsense. And your votes matter. So
absolutely,
we need people to get their butts out there and vote and be aware of what's going on with this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The votes really do count, and it's an important, just even to get educated about it. What is it that they're actually wanting to do, and much more than what maybe the commercials that are out there that are telling you what they're going to do.
Right. And I mean, what's the solution? I guess like there are ideas out there, aren't there, for what a better way to do this would be?
I mean, if you really wanted to do a voucher system, which they don't. I mean, I'll tell you right now, they don't, because if you really do a voucher system, that means you would have open enrollment for anybody, anywhere, and that all private schools would have a lottery system for their entrance. So in other words, if you had a true voucher system, private school A, that is an amazing place and whatever might be, any student could put in an ability to be able to apply for that and then have an equal chance to get in than anybody else. It doesn't matter of their race, their socioeconomic status, or even where they live, if you really wanted to do that. But the whole problem with that is that they don't want that.
No, of course not.
They don't want to leave it open to anybody. And
this is about segregation and wealth inequality.
It's totally about wealth inequality. So what you're talking about is, again, the people that are rich have the best schools in this case, and it continued then to fund more money towards those best schools, that already are charging tuition and those kinds of things. And then now the schools that didn't have that much to begin with, like you just said, they have $7,600, third lowest in the country as far as per student of what they're getting. And now you're saying, we're going to have to pull a little bit more away from that to make sure that these private schools get their share too. So it's a messed up. It's basically a lie. It's not. They don't really want what they're saying. No, they want kind of this little backwards way of basically funding private schools.
It sounds great, man. Everything is so good right now. Anyways, don't. I can't even contain myself. Don't bury your heads in the sand, people. Go out and vote. Make sure you vote. Please vote. I don't know how many more times I can say it. When we come back, we're going to talk about an article that I wrote with our good friend Steve Isaacs about esports.
OnEducation is brought to you by Audible.
So I got to tell you about this book. So I'm reading a book called You Can't Spell America Without Me. It's written by Alec Baldwin, and it's in Trump's vernacular, like it's in his voice. Like it's written, it's like as if it was written by Donald Trump. Okay. And so I'm reading it, and I'm thinking every time I'm reading it, I'm hearing Donald Trump's voice reading it to me. So I looked up on Audible if it was there, and I'm telling you it's there.
Oh,
so this is Alec Baldwin in the voice of Donald Trump reading the book You Can't Spell America Without Me. You've gotta listen to this. It is an absolute nightmare of a book. It's hysterical. So all that you guys have to do to listen to You Can't Spell America Without Me is go to audibletrial.com/oneducation. That's audibletrial.com/oneducation. And you will get a free audiobook download, which you should totally use for You Can't Spell America Without Me by Alec Baldwin, read to you by Alec Baldwin in the voice of Donald Trump. There's nothing better. So go do that, like, right now. All right, welcome back to the podcast. So if you go to EdSurge, the website EdSurge, it's a pretty cool news kind of information, educational information website. You'll see an article there. Gaming is not just for kids, what educators need to know about esports. Written by myself and by Steve Isaacs, who's been on the podcast. And we wanted to write, we were asked to write about esports because the Dota 2 tournament was on in Vancouver, and that was kind of the thing that got them thinking about it. But we took this opportunity to really, let teachers know about, just the basics of esports, because so many people don't, right?
They don't even know what it is. Yeah.
Right. So we wanted to kind of let them know that it's a real deal, that it's a thing, that their kids are constantly playing these games, and they should at least, have some sort of awareness of what these games are and how big this scene really is, and huge. That this is the future, right? Big
time future. Yes. I mean, it's corporately sponsored now. I mean, you can get, like you talked about in a previous episode, is you could get sponsored to do this.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not small amounts of money either.
No.
And even, like, we talk about how Twitch, the main platform for streaming video games, like the Netflix of game video watching, basically, was sold to Amazon for just under $1 billion. So much money.
Yes.
That it's a legit business, and you were starting to get scholarships
yes.
to U.S. universities where they are forming esports teams for different games and then competing. Like, there is, I guarantee you, in the next 5 years there will be an NCAA. I don't know what game it'll be. It could be Overwatch.
I guarantee you, it will be televised. It will be highly
sponsored
rated.
by Doritos.
Sponsored by Diet Mountain Dew.
Diet Mountain Dew and Doritos. That's
right
all
now.
You need. Diet Mountain Dew, Doritos, and Mars Bar are the premier sponsors for the NCAA Overwatch championships.
Yeah.
It's totally going to happen. Like, I have no doubt. 100% soon.
Yeah. So yeah, you wrote here too, Mike, that it's basically, as you say, it's not just for kids. So what do you mean by that? I know we talked about the tribe gaming type of thing. You want parents to kind of to delve into this, to really take a look at what's happening, that these games aren't all what maybe they think they are. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and it's not just for parents. It's also for teachers. Like we should know what our kids are doing, and if you don't, then you're just not doing it right. You need to know what your kids are doing. And if your kid, I'm not saying that you need to be like this regular Fortnite player, but you should know the nature of Fortnite. You should know that it's an online game. You should know that you can communicate in some ways with people in online games. And then you should know whether your child is playing a game that does that.
Yes.
This is just like basic knowledge that you should have about your child's interactions online. And these are the games they want to play. And so, I mean, just being aware. And as a teacher, we spend a lot of time talking about how you almost have in my opinion anyways, you have a duty, a responsibility to have a sense of your class and your students and
yes.
who they are and
absolutely.
What they're into. And it helps you build up a relationship with your kids. And so if they're playing Fortnite, you should be able to at least hold a minor conversation about Fortnite with your students. You really should. And you should know what Minecraft is and maybe a little bit about how to play it. And you should know when someone says I main Diva and sometimes I play Reaper, I mean, that shouldn't be hard things for you to kind of know what they're saying. And you can engage in such interesting conversations with your students if you just have a basic knowledge of these games that they're playing.
And you could connect things that you're doing in class to specific things that are happening in these worlds, in these digital worlds. And that's the biggest leverage point too. You don't need, like you just said, you don't even need to know how to play it. Mm-hmm. You can go on there. I think in your article you guys mentioned the Twitch sensation. His name is Ninja. And I think he's probably like in his early 20s, and he's a millionaire. And all he does is play this Fortnite game. I mean, he's played other games too, but he's famous for this Fortnite game. Yeah. You can go onto a video on YouTube and just look him up and see what's the big deal here. Like, what is the attraction, and why are kids playing this game, and why are they watching specifically Ninja?
And I mean, even if you don't want to go watch Ninja, I get it. I mean, he's a kid, and that's actually kind of why we started the Tribe Gaming thing and the Tribecast. So myself and Glen and Steve Isaacs and a couple other people, Paul Lavarzi was streaming with us the other night. We're playing some of these games. We played Civilization 5 just last night. I guess this would have been Saturday when we were recording. And we've played League of Legends. We've played Diablo 3. I mean, we're playing some of these games and we're talking about these games.
Yes.
And so if you want to, I don't know what word to use, a safe place to kind of come and ask questions about games without feeling like you're not belonging.
Or at the very least, or whatever. Yeah.
At the very least, come and join us. Watch what we're playing and talk with us. We have a chat. There's a chat in the Twitch stream where you can ask questions. We'll see the chat on the screen, and then we can answer your questions and talk about them. And that's kind of the whole point of this. We really want this community to be engaging with teachers who feel like they need to step their game up, for lack of better words, pardon the pun, I guess, but really have a better knowledge of what their kids are actually doing. Because if you can, the closer we can make the gap between a child's experience at home and a child's experience at school, if we can make those things closer together, we're going to solve education in a lot of different ways. So I hope that this helps at least a little.
Yeah.
And I hope our article helps at least a little.
And we're going to make sure we link it right in the show notes.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally. So we'll link the article in the show notes, and we'll link the Twitch channel in the show notes, and the Twitter handle for you, so that you can follow along and engage in conversation with us, because that's what we're here for. Yeah, totally. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Damon Torgerson from Alludo Learning about why your professional development sucks. All right, welcome back to the pod, everyone. We are thrilled to have Damon Torgerson with us. He is the co-founder of Alludo. Alludo and Damon have written us a blog post.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, fantastic. It'll be up when you're listening to this. You can also then head to the website OnEducationPodcast.com and read all about what we are going to be talking about. It is a fabulous read, and I highly recommend you doing that. Welcome to the show, Damon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
First, I guess, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Alludo and what you guys do.
Well, the basics about me, we're based out of Seattle. I'm originally from Canada, but I've been in Seattle for the last 20 years or so. Computer science degree. I have a MBA from York University over in Toronto.
Yeah.
And we started our company that worked in education in 2010 called Alpenspruce. And we started off kind of, my co-founder and I, Chris, come back from enterprise IT, and we started with kind of systems integration work with most of our school districts. Interestingly enough, at the time they were all in California. And then in 2014, we started building Alludo in support of a one-to-one rollout for a school district in California, Palm Springs Unified. And it kind of started from there. They presented Alludo at Q in 2015, and we started getting phone calls in the fall of 2015 about Alludo and about bringing it to other districts, and that's kind of where it started.
That's awesome.
Nice. I think it's safe to say that I can tell you from me personally, like I read this whole blog post and was nodding and sometimes yelling at the monitor the whole time I was reading it. I think it's safe to say that us, along with most of our listeners, have had to suffer through terrible PD, either in single kind of terrible training. Actually, we talked about this last podcast too, or whole like initiatives. So, why does PD generally suck?
A little loaded there, but yeah,
yes.
it's training in general. I come originally from the corporate world, and there's a lot of training. I think training in general, learning in general, is from the perspective of training or PD is really challenging, and I think it's challenging for a few reasons. There's a build it and they will come approach. So people that are really, really excited about a particular often technology, but any initiative, and they want to get it out there, they want to bring it out into the district, and they don't think that what is the learner going to take from this? And then the other side of it, I think, is the adoption and readiness side of any initiative. And if you think about why am I doing PD? What are the purpose of this? That is often kind of an afterthought, and so you don't have this holistic story as to why am I doing this. It's just like come and get it, and there's not this thought of like carrying it out to the community, engaging the community, making sure that they are aware of the training, why they're there. In short, I think it's. And there's a real theme going on right now in education about learner-centric. And I think most PD is teacher-centric or district-centric. And I think that's the fundamental reason why it's hard to deliver good PD.
That's exactly right. And we've been hearing a lot about this term, initiative overload. And so what is initiative overload, and why is it something educators should be paying attention to?
Well, if you're initiative overload is where you feel like you're getting bombarded with new things every single day.
Yes.
And an organization can only consume so much change. A district can only consume so much change. And I've heard many, many stories of that first day back at school where you get the fire hose of initiatives. And it's 3 or 4 initiatives. And this year we're doing this, and this year we're doing that. We're completely changing something here. Oh, and by the way, you're going to have to update these forms that you're going to be doing new expenses, all that sort of stuff.
Totally. And
you just came back from your summer off, and I put that in quotes because I don't know of any teachers that really take the whole summer off.
I didn't stop.
So true.
So it's, and so now all of a sudden, and then you have to teach.
Yeah.
Right? You have to get your kids ready, you have to get your classroom ready, you have to do all the stuff that you would normally be doing, but now there's these other, these 3 or 4 other things.
Yes.
And that's where you get people, right? Teachers are people. We forget that often, especially outside of education. They're people that have jobs, they have kids, they have families, they have interests, they have hobbies, and now we're bombarding them with stuff that's going to interrupt that. And so you have to be really sensitive to how much change your district can take on. And I think that's really incumbent on leaders within the district to be very, very aware of that. I think that's their job. And that's, I would throw, teachers on special assignment. I would say directors of PD, certainly assistant superintendents are those folks that really have to be sensitive to that. Because at the end, you want to be successful with these things, right? You want to change your district, but you have to. If you overwhelm them, then you're going to just end up with a lot of failure.
So speaking of awareness, Damon, and administrators and being sensitive to PD and overload, one of the most relevant parts of this article for me was when you spoke about administrators who insist on continuing PD initiatives, insist on doing all of this PD, even though they know that there's no buy-in and they know that it's not effective. Why is this happening? Why did they insist on continuing to pound educators with this stuff when they know it's not working?
Well, I don't want to come off as having the solution here, so I'll give you my kind of take on it, and I'd be interested in your perspective on this as well. But I think there's a couple of reasons, and one, it's often just innocence, right? They're super excited about whatever their initiative is, and when you're kind of that early adopter, that go-getter, you kind of want everyone to have this new thing, and it could be technology or it could be a new way of teaching or whatever it is. And so you're like, why isn't everyone so excited like I'm excited? And we forget that you have teachers and people have limited amount of time, and it is a job, and they still have all these other things that they want to do with their day. That they've got spouses, they've got kids, they've got whatever, get the kids to soccer practice, all that sort of stuff. And they're not necessarily as super excited as you might be.
Yes.
And that's just different people, and you're taking it from a person to a whole district. So you have to be aware that you have a very diverse set of people that are going to be consuming this. I think another one is administrators in particular are really under a lot of pressure.
That's
right?
true.
We got to have the students got to be reaching objectives. We got to have all this testing, all this stuff that's hitting there, and they might not know, right? Or not that they don't know, but they are under this pressure. And so they've got to be seen as doing something. There's got to be this movement. There's all this pressure on them, just like there is with teachers, right? There's all this pressure on teachers that you've got to make sure your kids are at certain levels, by certain dates, by certain times, all this other sort of stuff that's going on. And I think there's a lot of critique of this kind of mindset out there. But the administrators are under the same pressure. So they're going to push on that just like everyone's going to push on the teachers, and it's really unfortunate. But I think it's kind of a combination of people that are super excited about something, and then people that have maybe a mandate or a strategy that they have to execute on within the district. And there's just a tremendous amount of pressure within education. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I was also thinking about, and this kind of leads to something else that you do at Alludo, that a lot of times our admin isn't really selling the ideas first and making sure that you have buy-in from your staff. And so, like so many other things, it's important to go ahead and sell the idea and make sure that people get excited about it, have some drive behind it before you just say, this is what we're going to be doing. That's something that you guys do too, right, at Alludo?
Oh, for sure, and I think that's absolutely a piece of it. Is you have to understand the value that you're bringing before you start to have these initiatives. So if you're in your office and you're just designing this thing and you're going to go, oh, this is great, I read it on whatever blog or whatever, we're going to be doing this, and I don't want to trivialize all the administrators out there that put in so much work and thought into these things, but sometimes we forget that what you need to do is just go and listen to the people that you're going to be selling this to. In this case, it's teachers. Go and talk to them and see and get their feedback on just what's missing. And if you think that this particular, you're going to go, hey, we're all going, this year we're forgetting teacher-centric approach, we're going completely learner-centric. That's a big shift. And if you don't go and start, engaging those people that are going to be delivering that change and that shift, and you've got teachers that have been teaching for 30 years and you've got teachers that have been teaching for 1 year, well, your 1 year teachers are going to be, oh yeah, that's fine. I've been hearing nothing but learner-centric.
That's true.
But you've got a bunch of people that maybe they haven't been there. They're still great teachers. They're just not there yet. And if you suddenly just throw this initiative in front of them and say, hey, we're going to do this, you need to get out there and you need to engage them, and you need to understand what's the best way to deliver that change to them. And it starts with listening to them.
I was just about to say, it's such a reminder of how important it is to just understand where all of your staff are at in terms of their job and how long they've been teaching, and like everyone's different and their needs are going to be different, and their wants in terms of wanting to learn new things. And I didn't try when I was doing a lot of introducing new tech tools and stuff like that. One of the ways that I was always trying to frame it is how is this going to make your job easier? Because I think most teachers can get on board with having their job be made just a little bit easier. And so it makes it easy to sell that, right? Because this PD is sales in some way. You have to sell, you have to market what you're pushing, right? What you're trying to introduce. And so you have to, in sales, I used to use the term, you got to raise someone's flagpole, and everyone's, in terms of like the flag going up the flagpole, you got to figure out what gets people's flags up the flagpole, and everyone's different. And so you got to understand where everyone is at and what they need and what they want. And everyone's different. It's just an amazingly complex thing that you can't just throw out, a worksheet or throw out this PowerPoint or slideshow and say, here, this is what we're doing now. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. You've really hit on something there that is super important, which is you have to deliver value to the person. And we've come across some districts where they're not healthy. I'll just put it that way. They've had initiative overload. They've had turnover of staff, especially high level staff. A lot of turnover in the district, and the district's in kind of a little bit of trouble. And the teachers are a little bit cynical, right? Here comes Damon with his great new initiative, and in 6 months, Damon's going to have another great new initiative, kind of thing.
Yes.
And you have to think about, how can I deliver value to that teacher, to that person right away? And what I've advocated is within your PD, is there something that you can just give? You've got to give. Is there something you can give that isn't based on your initiative, isn't based on anything else, but that's going to help the teacher immediately? And in the case of Alludo, it's and it's certainly not limited to Alludo, but we do things like, is there something that would help the teacher immediately that isn't necessarily based on training? So maybe it's how to properly fill out your expense report, or so it doesn't get kicked back to you, right?
Yes.
And will that give the teacher back 5 minutes that is just purely, it's not going to advance the district through, it's not going to make students get higher test scores or anything like that, but is there something that you can give back to them? And depending on the maturity of the district, you might have to do that as your PD for a lot of it. You might have to do things that are just going to really help that teacher. And what that will do is build trust. And they'll start to feel like, oh, hey, they're actually listening to me, and they're actually helping me with my job. They're actually helping me get better with my job, and they're giving me 5 minutes back, 10 minutes back. You give somebody 5 minutes back a week through their training, then they start to get 15, 20 minutes. They can start to catch a breath. You build up trust, and then now they become a little bit open to, okay, well, now I'm going to try this new learner-centric approach that Damon's advocating, and we'll give it a try, right? And they become open to it.
So Damon, if someone is interested, they're listening out there, they're interested in learning more about Alludo, and also like an idea about the cost of being able to do something like this, can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Well, they can come to, the first place is come to www.alludolearning.com.
Okay.
And they can sign up for a free demo. They can go in, check out the platform, see if it's going to be a good fit for them or not. Is a great place. Alludo, our pricing starts at $20 per learner per year for a district for adult learners. We have lower prices for student learners, and we have discounts for longer term and more users and that sort of thing. So it's quite a cost-effective approach to deliver training for your teachers within a district, across the whole district.
That is awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today. And then we're going to make sure we provide the links to both the Alludo site and then anything else that we've mentioned so far. Thanks a lot for being here today.
Well, thank you very much, guys, and have a great day.
Thanks, Damon. OnEducation is an on-podcast media production. My name is Mike Washburn. My co-host is Glen Irvin. You can get in touch with us or ask us questions to answer on air by visiting our website, oneducationpodcast.com. You can tweet us at OnEducationPod. Glen is at IrvSpanish on Twitter. I can be found on Twitter at Mr. Washburn. Our sound engineer is Jake Codeweiss. He's on Twitter at JKRadio. You can find us on Facebook by visiting facebook.com/OnEducationPod. If you're enjoying the show and think others would too, we would be honored if you shared it with them. Please leave us a rating or review in Apple Podcasts or the Google Play Store. When you leave a rating, it gives our rankings a boost. This helps others discover the show. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, Schoology, for supporting us. Check out Schoology.com to learn how they can help you advance what's possible. Thanks as always for listening. Stay awesome. See you soon.